Desk's in the way. Hey guys, Hammer Tamer here. Welcome back to another video where we are yet again discussing philosophy, the intricacies of the world, if you will. How, not really, philosophy, how people think, what causes certain mindsets, how basically humanity's relationship with God and the world around them and all that. You guys know what philosophy is. Why am I explaining it to you? Welcome back to another philosophy video. You guys seem to be enjoying these. You absolutely killed it on the Nietzsche one. You guys also seem to like the Stoicism one a fair amount. So we are back. Today we are going a little eastward to Asia, like that area, like India, Pakistan. We're discussing Buddhist beliefs. But you might be saying like, oh, Buddhism is a religion, isn't it? Well, yes, it kind of is, but it also has like some philosophical takes and ideas on philosophy. I don't know how to say it, how to word it. But yeah, you guys aren't here for the super long intro. You're here to see me yap about philosophy and Buddhism. Thank you all so much for coming. Remember, like and subscribe. And let's get right into the video right after a quick word from our sponsor. Hey you. Yeah, you. If you had to ask what my favorite word in the English language is, I'd probably say ambition. Which is why today I found a sponsor for this video that perfectly encapsulates that word. That being Hammerhead Grappling Wear. But Hammerhead Tamer, I hear you saying, isn't that your business? Why yes, very observant viewer, you would be right. I am indeed sponsoring myself. So, what is Hammerhead Grappling Wear? Well, for those of you that are into fitness and especially in martial arts, we focus on providing you with top-of-the-line training clothing and equipment, everything you need, such as this shirt right here and these here shorts. As a martial artist and fitness nerd myself, I had a vision for where I wanted to be. And I decided to create a company target towards basically people similar to myself that want to become excellent and amazing at everything they do. Which is why I created Hammerhead Grappling Wear for those that are up and coming and want to be the best of the best. We're there to provide you with the tools to get you there. You have to do the work yourself, but we're willing to do everything in our power to help you. Now, why buy from us over the competition? Well, see how jacked I am, right? It's all the evidence you need. As I said, we share your vision and we're on your same wavelength. With us, we're also there to support you every step of the way. So go buy from... Dang it. So, as many of you may know, I'm a big fitness guy, and in all honesty, Hammerhead Grappling Wear is some of the best fitness clothing I've worn, and that's being completely unbiased. Like, it fits very comfortably. It really brings out the like shape on my arms, like makes me feel more swole, and I get a lot more comments on how swole I look when I wear it. But yeah, go buy from Hammerhead Grappling Wear and show us your support. Wear some of our merch and show the competition that you're going to be the best of the best and excel at what you do. Thank you for watching the ad. Let's get back to the video. Alright, here we are. Buddhism Explained, 20 minutes. What is Buddhism? Another 20 minutes. Brief history of Buddhism. That seems like a good place to start. This says 5 minutes, but it's actually 5.5 minutes. I've been lied to.
With 500 million followers, the world's fourth largest religion is Buddhism, a faith or philosophy that aims to overcome suffering and...
There it is. See? Faith or philosophy. I was right.
achieve a state of inner peace and wisdom called nirvana. It was founded by the followers of Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, more than 2,500 years ago in India. Although he had an easy life, he was moved by suffering in the world. He first decided to give up his lavish lifestyle and endure poverty, yet this did not fulfill him. He started therefore to promote the idea of the middle way, a life lived between the two extremes without social indulgence but also without deprivation. Buddhists believe that after teaching others on how to reach the state of nirvana, which is where all suffering ceases. When the Buddha passed away, his followers began to organize his teachings, which were passed.
What is up with this guy's hair? Is that just like one super long braid going down his... What is this? What's going on here?
On orally until their transcription around the 1st century BCE.
Oh.
Were passed on or the Buddha passed away, his followers began to organize his teachings, which were passed on orally.
I didn't know that. So his teachings were all taught orally, like just spoken person to person. And there were no written records until the 1st century BC. So, and the correct term is BC. If you say BCE, then I hope you stub your toe tonight, because that is one of the least intelligent things I hear from people that want to sound intelligent. But that's interesting that it was just passed around orally and not written down for a while. So like you don't know what you're missing out on, what was left out, what was changed, what... You guys get the point.
Until their transcription around the 1st century BCE. It is therefore difficult to say to what extent his discourses have been preserved as they were spoken.
That's what I'm saying.
Relatively similar to Hindus, Buddhists believe in a wheel of continuous rebirth. Although Hinduism was the dominant religion of the region, Buddhism appealed to people of lower castes because it emphasized individuals' path to enlightenment and salvation, which could be attained in their current lives rather than the future ones. Rising Buddhism was actually developed in response to what was perceived as the...
Does that sound familiar? Sounds like the Slave Morality by Friedrich Nietzsche.
failure of Hinduism to address the needs of the...
I'm not saying that this is like wrong or incorrect in any way. I'm just tying it back to what I've heard previously.
people, and while it may be considered an offshoot of Hinduism, Buddhism rejects the caste system, abolishes rituals, priesthoods, and even gods. The ultimate goal of Buddhism is the liberation from suffering of repeated cycles of birth, mundane life, and death called samsara. This blowing out of worldly suffering is known as nirvana and can be achieved by using the methods of the Buddha known as the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is referred to as the Wheel of Dharma.
Maharaj?
A collection of ideas taught by the Buddha on how to end suffering through simple steps including right intention, right speech, and right action among others. Buddhists live by 5 moral precepts. They are against the killing of living things, abusing drugs and alcohol, stealing, sexual misconduct, and lying. Followers of Buddhism do not acknowledge a supreme god or deity. They instead focus on the proving path to achieve nirvana. Widely observed practices include meditation.
Just so you guys know, because I don't know how informed a lot of y'all are, this symbol isn't just from, how do I word this word slow on YouTube? 1940s Germany. This symbol has been around throughout all of human history, and in most cases, like with Buddhism, pretty sure it means like good fortune, good luck. And if you notice, it's facing like this way. The way the Germans used it, it faced the other way. So, yeah, this is just a Buddhist symbol. They're not... Yeah.
On the proving path to achieve nirvana. Today, China, followed by Thailand, have the largest populations of Buddhists in the world. The religion was introduced into the West by large numbers of immigrants from China and other Southeastern Asian countries, and its influence is growing there as well as throughout the world. The original idea behind what the Buddha taught may be summed up in the long-existent rumor of what he said on his deathbed. Be your own light. Do not look for the light in another. Light your own way in the dark.
That's interesting.
Deathbed. Be your own light. Do not look for the light in another. Light your own way in the dark.
That's interesting because when you think of other religions like Christianity, it maybe just Christianity. I don't know a whole lot about religion in general, but it preaches about like saving other people and helping them like get to heaven. But this is just saying light your own way and don't worry about other people, if I'm understanding correctly. Four painful truths in life.
Truths in life. Number 1.
Why are all Buddhists bald? Like, why? I get, like, one thing I know about Buddhism is that they preach that desire is the root of all suffering, pretty much. But, like, why do they all shave their head? I guess to show that they don't value hair much, but then they would value being bald because that means they care about, like, what's going on up here. I don't know.
Life is short. Number 2. What you own is not who you are. Number 3. There is always pain before success. And number 4. Everything can change in a split second. Namo Buddhaya.
Yeah, that sounds pretty real. Let's see, chat. Which one we watching today? Which one you guys want to watch? Buddhism Explained or What is Buddhism? Let's watch this one.
This video is brought to you by Buddhist Studies Online. Click the link below to sign up for courses on the history, philosophy, and languages of Buddhism taught by top university professors. Buddhism is a complex religious and philosophical tradition with over 500 million adherents that spans 2,500 years of history. As Buddhism has developed over its long history, it's marked by constant reinterpretation of central ideas, introduction of new scriptures and practices, and intermingling with local traditions in the places where Buddhism has spread, even a religion. You can find plenty of people today who will argue that no, Buddhism is not a religion, and that instead it's a philosophy or a way of life. This stretches all the way back to European writers in the 1850s when an Anglican minister, Charles Hardwicke, who wrote extensively on Buddhism, tried to argue that it was a philosophy instead of a religion. He wrote,
See, I could see this going both ways. I could see arguments on each side. Quite frankly, I don't think it's my place to decide. There's people that know a lot more than me about this, and that also care a lot more. I'm more interested in like the ideas and beliefs in Buddhism, just like any other philosophy or religion, because all that stuff interests me, what they teach. That doesn't mean I believe in or follow a particular one, but Buddhism, I mean, philosophy, religion, way of life, whatever, I still think it's interesting regardless of what it is.
What I intend by Buddhism is the system of metaphysical and social philosophy organized by the Buddha. Neither am I speaking here of Buddhism in its modern development. And by modern development, he basically meant a mixture of folk religion and, in his words, older superstitions. He concluded that we shall be dealing now with a philosophy rather than with a religion. And sure, if you remove rituals and beliefs and sacred writings and institutions like monks and nuns, I guess what's left over is a metaphysical and social philosophy. But what we're seeing here is Hardwicke's explicitly Protestant Christian understanding of religion, a definition of religion that focuses strongly on belief in a monotheistic creator god and de-emphasizing ritual. When we run into this question, it's important to remember that religion as a category has been defined in different ways, by different people, and for different purposes. So when someone asks, is Buddhism a religion? One good question to ask back is, how are you defining religion? If your definition of religion follows Charles Hardwicke's definition, trying to distill Buddhism down into some essentialized form by removing culturally specific beliefs and practices, I'm sure you can create a version of Buddhism that is not a religion. But it's also important to remember that the very word religion emerges out of a particular Christian-centric historical and social context. There's not actually a word in any Asian language that corresponds directly to the English concept of religion. Another good question to ask is, why do they think it matters whether Buddhism is a religion or not? For many Buddhists today, especially in English language contexts, religion has become kind of a dirty word, associated with blind faith and the lack of personal freedom. And so people who think religion is bad may not want to associate Buddhism with religion. For our academic purposes here, we will be treating Buddhism.
That is honestly an interesting take. How do I put this? They have their like beliefs and what have you, but they believe in like personal freedom and don't think of religion that same way because it requires like blind faith. That, I don't know why, that's just very captivating and interesting to me. Especially considering that Buddhism is they don't believe in like desiring anything. They spend all that time like meditating to stop like feeling desire. That's how they reach nirvana. And which I'll talk more about that once we get to it. But yeah, that's honestly interesting to me.
As a religion. And we'll be following Dr. Stephen Prothero's model of religion, which suggests that religions provide an account of a human problem that people face, claim to provide a solution to that problem, advocate various practices and techniques for solving that problem, and offer exemplars of people who have solved the problem.
All right, I'm going to take note of this for when I start my own cult. I'm joking. I'm not starting my own cult.
Like all definitions of religion, this one has pros and cons, but it will be helpful today to better understand Buddhism, even if the category itself is imperfect. Now, with that abstract theoretical question out of the way, let's turn our attention.
Hey guys, real quick, look at this. It's a frog. I got a frog over here.
But according to Buddhist legend, he was a wealthy prince who abandoned his life of luxury to search for a solution to the problem of suffering, or dukkha. The Buddha argued that human life is marked by dukkha, a term that's often translated as suffering but really means something closer to stress, unsatisfactoriness, or even dis-ease. Not disease in the sense of sickness, but just that sense of not being at ease or not fitting into the world. The Buddha spent many years searching for a solution to this problem of stress and suffering, and eventually claimed to have attained awakening or enlightenment, also known as nirvana.
Alright, if you ask me, that's just human nature. The thing that separates human beings from beasts in the wild is ambition, right? Like the sponsor was talking about. Like animals, all they know is I'm cold, I'm hungry, I gotta have kids, and I gotta survive. That's all they know. Humans, we went out and after we survived, we were like, nah, we gotta do more. And then we started building stuff. And we're like, now we gotta do more. And then we started like, now I have this super advanced computer sitting at my desk with my own clothing brand, with my phone charging back there, with a green screen behind me. And all that is just human, what's it called, intuition, and like just humans searching for more. And if you ask me, that's just human nature. It's what separates human beings from animals, is that ambition and desire to do more. And yeah, it can cause stress. It can be hard. It can make you not at ease. But who has control over that? You do. You can, and I'm not saying that this is necessarily wrong. If you feel like the way out, like what you desire to do, like this is your human nature, you want to break out of that, and because like in a way, reaching enlightenment, you desire to do that, and that's your ambition to follow through and do your absolute best to reach Buddhist enlightenment. Go right ahead. But for just about everything else where there's actual stuff you want to accomplish, you can either sit there and cry about it, or you can keep going at it. And then once you reach that, you're going to want more. So then you keep going after more, and more and more, until you eventually give up or you die.
But among the most important ones are contained in his very first sermon, known as the Discourse which Turns the Wheel of Dharma. This text can be found in the Samyutta Nikaya section of the Pali Canon, which is today believed by Theravada Buddhists to be the oldest record of the Buddhist teachings. These teachings were said to have been memorized by the Buddha's disciples and passed down orally for hundreds of years before being written down in the 1st century BCE. Dharma here refers to the Buddha's teachings about the nature of reality, and turning the wheel of Dharma indicates teaching the truth about reality. In this sermon, the Buddha outlines the 4 noble truths. The first truth is suffering. Suffering, according to the Buddha, is just a fact of life. We suffer when we get sick, or when we get old, or when loved ones die. We also suffer mentally because we spend our lives chasing after things that we think will make us happy. We suffer when we don't get them, and even if we do get them, we worry that they'll be taken away or we'll get bored and start to...
That's another thing. I've touched on this before. I don't think that happiness is, at least not for me personally, the ultimate what I should strive for. I feel like there's more important stuff to worry about. He's right. If you get what you want, what you're looking for, it doesn't always live up to the expectation you had for it. It's as they say, hope for the best, be prepared for the worst. You might you might get that super nice car if that's what you wanted, that Lamborghini. Then after like a week, you're like, it's just another car. I don't feel anything towards this. So basically, it's not always what it's cracked up to be. You have to learn to be content with what you have, or like Buddhists are saying, not so much desire stuff because you're just going to be disappointed in the end. But yeah, ultimately, like I said, human nature is to keep getting stuff. But you're going to get disappointed sometimes. That's going to just push you to get more stuff. Just have to learn to be content with what you have, I guess.
Fixate on some other thing. Thus, we're trapped in this endless and stressful cycle of craving and suffering. Meanwhile, this intense fixation on our own wants and needs blinds us to the needs of others, causing us still more suffering. The Buddha is not saying that there is no joy and happiness to be found in life. Instead, he's pointing out that moments of happiness are fleeting, but that we often return to a baseline situation of stress and worry. So the first noble truth is a recognition that part of being alive in this world is dealing with suffering, stress, and pain. The second noble truth is that this suffering has an origin. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. There are a couple ways of thinking of the origin of suffering. In the first sermon, the Buddha points to craving as the origin of suffering. In other texts, though, he expands that to recognize other causes. One major cause of suffering is karma. Karma is a Sanskrit term that literally means action. We can understand it as cause and effect. If you do good things will happen to you. And if you do bad things will happen to you. And so the Buddha says that much of the suffering in our lives results from the consequences of previous actions. So you might ask, why don't we just stop doing bad things if we know they'll result in bad consequences? Well, the Buddha argued that most of the time when humans do bad things, it's because they're being driven by hatred, greed, or delusion. These three reactive emotions are known as the three poisons, and the Buddha argued that they're at the root of human suffering. The third noble truth, then, is that...
This is something I find really interesting about religion in general. Like, let's say, for example, Buddhism is a religion. Two of these three poisons are the same thing as the 7 deadly sins from the Bible. Right? Like, how did these Buddhists all the way in India have such similar beliefs on what's not good for you as the people way over in Europe where they had Christianity, when they haven't even met yet? And mind you, it's not like those are bad things per se. It'd be nice to be greedy and to say that, oh, this bad thing I did was justified because I was hateful at the time or whatever. That'd be the easy route, but religion seems to go against human will. But such similar ideas were founded by people in completely separate parts of the world. And there's just so many similarities, and that's why I believe in a God but not a particular religion. Because, like, so many different religions are similar, despite having never interacted with other religions when they were made. But at the same time, I don't think any of them are exactly right. Like, I don't think any of them actually communicated with God himself about what's right and what's wrong.
To argue that they're at the root...
I think you just have to be a good person and your soul will live on someday. I don't think just because I'm not Christian, whatever God's out there is going to smite me just for that. unless I'm a terrible person, which I try not to be. It's not for me to decide, but I try to do the morally just thing. And if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, then suck to suck, I guess.
Of human suffering. The third noble truth, then, is that suffering can be ended. And that's because if hatred, greed, and delusion cause bad actions, humans can end the bad actions and ultimately end suffering.
And I know it was about that particularly. I thought Buddhism in general was just like you desire anything. That can cause a chain reaction that leads to suffering in some way, shape, or form. And ultimately, they say that once you get rid of desire, then you also get rid of suffering because the root cause isn't there. It also keeps reminding me of this meme I saw, future me that's editing this video. Go ahead and put that up on screen where it's like a yin-yang, where Buddhism is like, desire is the root of suffering. But then on the bottom is like Gurren Lagann and it's saying like, desire is the root for greatness.
Suffering if
Or
those
suffering is the root of greatness, something like that.
are removed. Moreover, if humans can replace hatred, greed, and delusion with wisdom and compassion, they can attain nirvana, the state of freedom from suffering. Finally, the fourth noble truth is the path from suffering. This path has been described as the middle way between the extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. It's also been described as an eightfold path that the Buddha prescribes for overcoming suffering, steps that include training in moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom. We can summarize the Four Noble Truths like this. Life sucks, here's why, you can fix it, here's how. Or to use a metaphor that the Buddha himself is said to have used repeatedly in the Pali Canon, the Buddha is like a doctor who observes symptoms, offers a diagnosis, makes a prognosis, and then offers a treatment.
I like how even his badge has what looks like a Buddhist on it.
Offers a diagnosis, makes a prognosis, and then offers a treatment. Two important ideas emerge from the Buddha taught that beings who recognize these
Why they give the statue pointy nipples? Like, bro, his covering's right here. Why you have to include the nipple, bro?
truths about reality. Different Buddhist groups have different versions of what they consider to be the Buddhist canon, but in each case, it's many times larger than the Bible or the Quran. For example, the Taisho edition of the Japanese Buddhist canon contains 2,920 texts collected in over 85 volumes.
One Piece
The
over
oldest
here.
version of the canon, known as the Pali Canon, was published in translation
Did you finish all of One Piece? Nah, son. I finished all of the Buddhist
by the Pali
mythology.
text. That is, the Buddha did not present a single set of teachings and practices that are one size fits all. Instead, he taught a general path for beings to follow. This is known as the teaching of the
I don't think I've ever seen an African American Buddhist before.
Instead, he taught a general path for beings to follow. This is known as the teaching of the gradual or graduated path. The starting point is ordinary desire and suffering,
Then again, I haven't really seen any Buddhists before in person. At least not that I know of.
and the end point is awakening to freedom from suffering, or nirvana. Today, we can think of Buddhists as living in three broad traditions. They share many of the same ideas and practices, but they also differ about what texts they consider to be the best representation of the Buddha's teaching, and also how they understand Buddhahood itself. Each of these forms of Buddhism is also shaped by long interaction with the cultures where they took root. Monks and nuns in each of these places also wear somewhat different robes and follow somewhat different versions of
Is that Josuke?
First, we have Theravada
Josuke
Buddhism, which is
Higashi.
practiced in much of
Higashikata?
Southeast Asia. And we see a pervasive concern to recognize and overcome the problem of suffering, a recognition that so much suffering stems from our own ingrained mental habits, and a commitment to cultivation to remove these causes of suffering. Moreover, Buddhism is grounded in a worldview that takes impermanence and interdependence as the fundamental nature of reality. If you'd like to learn more about Buddhism, then I really recommend that you check out today's sponsor.
Well, that was a pretty interesting video. So yeah, my key thoughts and takeaways on Buddhism. I feel like there's some good stuff to be taken away from it, some bad stuff, just like everything. There's some good, some bad. Ultimately, since most people are so focused on their mental health and being happy in life, I feel like Buddhism could be a good way through that. As a philosophy, though, something about Eastern philosophy and philosophers are they have a way with words where like they could just like word stuff so well and so easily, and regardless of what the teaching is, they're very good at like preaching it. But yeah, Buddhism seems like a pretty cool philosophy. I feel like there's a lot we could learn from it, especially someone like me. Just like remember like how good you have it and appreciate the things you do have, instead of just like desiring more and more and more and being upset when you don't get what you're after. Appreciate what you do have. Like stop, look at the flowers, appreciate the weather, the sunset. Even though it's cloudy outside right now and looks like it's about to rain. Yeah, it's basically my thoughts on Buddhism, what I said throughout the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, thank you so much for watching and showing your support. I truly appreciate every single one of you, and I'm glad to have you guys as viewers, subscribers, whoever you may be. And thank you for returning to this channel, and if this is your first video you've seen of me, thank you for visiting. Consider subscribing and coming back in the future. And leave a comment what else I should research in my future videos, because I'm open for suggestions. Right now my channel is still pretty small, so it's pretty likely I'll see your comment. I try to reply to as many people as I can, and if you suggest something, there's a good chance I'll do it. But that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. What does this Buddhist guy say?
Namo Buddhaya.
Nam Buddhaya. See y'all next time. Peace out.